What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Welcome to the live show. I am joined by my best friend, as I am most Mondays, Ron Taylor. Ron, say what's up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Monday.
So, a couple things we need to get through here. I want to talk a little bit about Emeka Egbuka and his recent visit to Oklahoma. Talk about Tristan Lay and his recent visit to Oklahoma. Talk about Korey Foreman and what feels like his last visit to perhaps Clemson or LSU, right? And if like LSU, yeah, 5 of them, homie. 5 of them. We gonna get into that. And of course, you know, the Ohio State-Michigan thing. So let's start with Ohio State-Michigan thing, all right? Because I wrote about this at Fox Sports, and I think it's worth trotting out right now. I believe that Ohio State will not have a better win than the win they had against Michigan State, okay? So Ohio State beats Michigan State 52-12, but they do it down 23 players and only one starting offensive lineman who was playing the same position he'd been playing all year in Wyatt Davis at right guard. They move Harry Miller to center. He's botching snaps left and right, and you have 3 dudes making starts for the first time on that line. Say nothing to losing Josh Proctor at safety. So you're down those guys plus 4 full-time coaches that include Ryan Day, and Larry Johnson Sr. becomes the first black head coach to roam the sidelines for Ohio State in its illustrious history. Should point out here that Ohio State has had 7 coaches since 1950, so it's not really a job that comes open all that often, but still a really cool moment for Larry Johnson, who also, and I didn't think many people knew this until Bill Landis wrote about it at The Athletic, was a head coach at T.C. Williams High School as recently as 1993. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And took over a program in the 70s that had never played football and turned it into a state champ before taking that job, and was hired on to coach defensive ends and defensive tackles at Penn State by Joe Paterno. And that's where the legend of Larry Johnson absolutely begins, because, you know, Larry Johnson Sr. has put more dudes into the NFL draft at defensive end and defensive tackle than most schools, which is stupid and ridiculous. And then my favorite part of that game, Haskell Garrett had a pass breakup pick 6. Haskell Garrett, for many of you that do not know, is a defensive tackle at Ohio State and was shot in the face 3 months ago. So, like, for real. And, you know, he got shot in the face trying to protect somebody else in Columbus. So let's put that out there, because I know that the circumstances, but I didn't know that Columbus really got down like that. And everybody that's from Columbus is like, yeah, man, it's rough in them streets up there. But knowing that they got that 52-12 win in such a dominating fashion, I also want to point out this. Michigan State beat Northwestern and is the only team so far to beat Northwestern, who is the Big Ten West champs. And they held Northwestern 63 yards. Ohio State rushed for 322 yards without 3 starters on offensive line and with 4 dudes making starts at positions that they'd never made or making their first starts altogether. I don't know that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee is going to go that in-depth in how they evaluate Ohio State, but I go that in-depth because, well, I'm not one of the 13 suits in there, and I do love college football. That's why I made a video today for Fox Sports about Coastal Carolina needing to be a top 10 team and walk that out into an expanded playoff argument. You should go check that out. The people that watched it seemed to think that it was a pretty good take. I like to think so myself. Like, probably would have led a radio show with that take. All to say, no, Texas A&M is not the 4th best team in the country. Neither is Florida. First of all, y'all lost. Don't lose. Second of all, Texas A&M struggles against Auburn and LSU. And for those of y'all that didn't see Alabama versus LSU, is 45-14 at half. Is 45-14 at half. Hey, Ron, you know how many losses that is for LSU now?
I believe that's 5.
5th! Plead 5th! 5! All this noise y'all were giving us. All of it. 5. And you know what? You still got to play Florida. I think they still got to play Ole Miss too.
And that's fine. I'm officially off the LSU getting whooped bandwagon for the year. I was off when they got 4, but they had Alabama versus LSU, so I got 1 more in there. Yeah, they are bad football. They are a bad football team. They are as bad as we said they were, and does anybody have any hope that they'll turn it around and show like some flakes of hope? Because there's still some weeks to opt out. There's still some weeks to catch another postponement or cancellation.
Look,
if you LSU fan, what are you watching for?
Recruiting, because Korey Foreman was said to be going down to Tiger Stadium for Alabama versus LSU. So he saw y'all get destroyed, okay? And if Bo Pelini doesn't get fired after that, Bo Pelini not going to get fired. And I know that y'all were all sorts of awesome about Bo Pelini being back at LSU. Now y'all can't wait to get him up out the paint. It's also speaking to the culture, right? Because Ed Orgeron was lauded, rightfully so, last year, because we felt like the Bayou Bengal culture was at full tilt all last year. They were going to do it. They were going to do it big. They were going to do it with style points. They were going to do it with energy. And they were going to do it talking mad trash all along the way. Still one of the great college football teams of all time, if not third or fourth best team ever to do it, right? 95 Nebraska is untouchable. But on the other side, on the opposite sideline, you saw what culture is really about. For the past 13 years, Alabama has been built one way and doing it one way and been the best at doing it that way. Nick Saban can leave the sidelines and the train continues to run on time. Back on the sideline, they just ratcheted it up. 385 for Mac Jones, 145 for Najee Harris, 231 for Devontae Smith. And this is all without Jalen Waddle, who, when he is healthy, is the best player in all of college football. And we're talking about Devontae Smith, whether or not he needs to be a Heisman finalist. You take a look at the rest of college football. Who else has a culture like that? It's just Ohio State. Because if you ask Texas A&M or Florida to play without 23 players and down 4 coaches and no head coach, I doubt they're going to win by 40 against anybody. I don't mean that to shade A&M or Florida. I mean that to say, look at the culture that Ryan Day has either continued to keep in place with Urban, right, or built himself with a bunch of guys that 100% believe in what they are doing and want to do it together. Because, Ron mentioned you can still have some opt-outs. I mean, LSU has any more dudes opt out, they're going to be playing both ways, all right? Like, it's at Ohio State, you're not going to see such a thing. Shaun Wade is a first-round draft pick and a graduate, and he chose to come back because he wants to win a national championship. Same thing with Wyatt Davis. Justin Fields was always all the way in, and he played the most NFL-ready football game I've ever seen him play against Michigan State. Because the thing that we all know is going to be true, whether he's the first pick or Trevor Lawrence is the first pick or Kyle Trask is the first-round pick and on down the line, they're going to play behind trash offensive lines. Offensive lines that are still figuring it out, don't exactly know what the protections are, and are probably more likely to get you killed than give you time in the pocket. Fields got to experience what that's going to be like against a stout Michigan State defense with Mel Tucker at head coach, Scotty Hazelton at defensive coordinator. Because the thing that people forget about Scotty Hazelton isn't that he came from Kansas State. It's that before coming from Kansas State, he was at North Dakota State, winning national championships and grooming guys like Jabril Cox, who ends up grad transferring to LSU to play linebacker as a Buchanan Award finalist, right? That's for the best defensive player in the FCS. So they know how to coach football, especially defensively, over there at Michigan State. And Justin Fields was still able to get it done with 199 yards through the air and over 100 yards on the ground. That is why I thought that it was important to really walk out. Ohio State has the culture to compete with Alabama in a way that I don't know that Clemson or Notre Dame does. Because again, Clemson took an L to a really good Notre Dame team, but they get close, right? Because DJ Uiagalelei was absolutely slicing and dicing Notre Dame. They didn't have 3 starters on defense. This is why we're all looking forward to Charlotte, December 19th, Notre Dame, and Clemson for the ACC championship game. But from there, I want to go to this and start with a question about this for you, Ron. Do you think Ohio State, Michigan gets played this weekend?
Yes, I think there's too many people that have their pride on line that unless there is an overwhelming amount of cases that stop the game, they play it. They have Jim Harbaugh has nothing to play for except for like a little bit of professional pride. He loves football. Everybody at Ohio State needs to play this game to get an unquestioned pathway to the playoff. So good sense has to be so loud in this scenario for them to not play this game.
Ooh, good sense. So last Wednesday, Michigan shut down their facilities due to an outbreak of COVID-19 cases, and they reopened them just like an hour ago. They are at practice getting ready to play this game against Ohio State. Two things are really at stake here, right? And I feel like they're superficial, but we still need to point to them because I do a bad job of actually pointing out the obvious stuff because I just think that people know it and take it for granted, but whatever. Ohio State needs to play a sixth game to be eligible for the Big Ten title game as the rules are stated today. Now, Barry Alvarez went on Big Noon Kickoff to tell everybody, as the Wisconsin athletic director, if for whatever reason Ohio State can't get a game against Michigan this weekend or perhaps even Maryland in another game to get to 6, we need to meet and talk about changing the rule to 5 because we need to have the best opportunity to make the playoff. And that means today, Ohio State needs to have an opportunity to compete for a Big Ten championship game against a top 25 Northwestern team and be able to say we won our conference championship and we are undefeated. Because we played fewer games, we understand that y'all want more games, but this is what we got. So Ohio State's in a place where they cannot falter and where the Big Ten is going to have to amend its rules to make sure that they get a chance to play in the playoff if that's what they want. And the reason they want that, and I've outlined this over the last couple of days, but I'm going to keep doing it, is because you're going to make between $6 and $10 million on top of what you might normally make for getting a team into the playoff and another team into the New Year's Six Bowls. I think Indiana or Northwestern or both have opportunities to get into those things, right? On top of course, Ohio State getting into the playoff. So you need that money in a year where everybody's facing a budget shortfall. So it's not as much about getting Ohio State in there as it is getting the best Big Ten in there because we need this money.
Ohio State is clapping in everybody's face saying, it smells like broken here. Y'all trying to make money? It smells like broken here. Y'all need to change it to 5 so that we can make everybody money.
Like, and that's
Ohio State's looking at everybody like, I can't be the crazy one here, right?
It's true, though, because, like, I led with my piece on Fox Sports with this, in that Ryan Day on September 10th published a statement on Twitter that ended with, our kids want to know, why can't we play? As Clemson was getting ready to play like Wake Forest and Notre Dame was getting ready to play Wake Forest, there were a couple teams that were, the ACC was kicking off, right? And Big Ten had no plans at that time to play football. So Ohio State's looking around like, yo, first of all, if they can do it, why can't we do it? And second of all, we have a national championship caliber football team. We want a chance to do this because, yeah, the window is now. The window is right now. You're going to waste what I think is the best football that Justin Fields is capable of playing along with Sean Wade, right? Along with Chris Olave. Like, you're going to waste this. And the Big Ten was looking around like, it kind of is their conference. And people kind of care about the Big Ten only because Ohio State is good or Michigan is good or Penn State is good. And Michigan and Penn State, we thought were going to be good, right? We feel like I need to say it you thought.
Oh, yeah.
It you thought.
I could pull out some preseason predictions right now. And it's like, oh, it looks like it's Penn State's year. Ohio State better watch out.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah, it is. And nobody saw Indiana coming at all. Like, who? What? Also, shouts to Indiana who got a win against Wisconsin with the backup quarterback. Everybody's like, Jack Tuttle's just as good as Michael Penix Jr. If that's the case, then why the hell ain't he starting? Okay? There's a reason we call him the backup quarterback. We call him 1A and 1B. Uh-huh. Seems like 1B doesn't get on the field. That's what we call 2. Okay? Like, I don't.
You leave these letters out of here.
Right? We don't really care about depth charts. The hell you don't. Like the new thing in college football now is for you to put oars everywhere. You know, especially at your second and third dudes on the depth chart. Or, yeah, just who is that for? Who is that for? That's got to be for the kids, right? Because it's not for me. I know who it is. They know who it is. You know,
I think it must be nice if you have because if you're a top tier university, we got ones and we got twos, and if you are two, congratulations, you are this close to being number one. But you have you just tell me it's like, yeah, our 3-3-5 looks a lot like our 4-2-5 when we have 3-4 principles, and we're able to have a coverage like a 4-3, and we can go 3 high. It's like you tell me that your team has no identity. Thank you.
I mean, and like for some people that works. And for some people like myself and you, it does not. Also add to the Michigan swirl here that looks like it might turn into a swirly on Saturday. But, we'll see. Maybe they're competitive. Maybe they're not. Jim Harbaugh is already, in conversations to be an NFL head coach. Because the thinking here is, let me see if I want to go at this that way. All right, so Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk came out with a piece saying, look, expect Jim Harbaugh to get real looks to be an NFL head coach in 2021. And after Anthony Lynn got blanked 45-0 by New England and Bill Belichick, he might be on borrowed time. And Harbaugh going back to the West Coast might make the LA Chargers feel a little bit better about themselves, right? Especially with Justin Herbert feeling like he's on to something. And you'll be able to get back this defense in the secondary that could be the best in football. I don't think that he should take a look at that Detroit Lions job, but I don't think anybody should take a look at that Detroit Lions job. And I don't think anybody should take a look at a New York Jets job because they decided to fire Greg Williams before they're going to fire Adam Gase. But, whatever on that one. All while Harbaugh is in the final year of his contract next year, with this thinking being you can't recruit with 1 year left on your deal. Because kids going to be like, yo, man, are you out? Because, like, I'll play for you, but I don't want to play for somebody else. I don't know what that's going to be like. To which I also need to add this. Only old folks have that take. Only old folks are like, you can't recruit with 1 year left on your deal. You're not giving the kids any credit at all, or their parents for that matter, for actually paying attention and looking at how this goes. Because they know chances are they are not going to finish their careers with the same position coach, let alone head coach. Shane Beamer just took the job at South Carolina. You don't think the H-backs and outside linebackers he recruited from the MDV didn't think that was a possibility? I'm telling you, man, some of the stuff that gets talked about on the national scene as talking points, I'm like, do y'all really pay attention to how recruiting works? Can you tell me when the dead period starts? Can you tell me when the quiet period starts? Can you tell me when the contact period starts? No, you can't. You don't go to camps. You don't go to regionals. You don't care about the opening. And then when the kid starts to bust out as a true freshman, oh yeah, he was a 5-star. He was top in his class at whatever position. Yeah, can you tell me anything other than that? Can you tell me what positions the kid played in high school? What teams he played against in high school? For instance, right? True freshman wide receiver at Ohio State is good. All right, which one? Julian Fleming? Jackson Smith and Jigba? G. Scott? You want to keep going? Let's settle on Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? Let's talk about how that dude comes out of Texas, went up against Hudson Clark at Highland Park, and was getting stopped by Hudson Clark. You know what Hudson Clark is doing now? Playing safety at Arkansas as a walk-on because he was not that highly recruited. Then when Hudson Clark has like 3 picks in one game, people are like, where did he come from? I'm sorry. Did you not see that he was shutting down the 5-star out of Texas that goes to Ohio State making stupid toe-touching grabs? These are all dots that I choose to connect in college football because y'all are smart and I'm smart. And I don't want to have dumb conversations about how you cannot recruit with 1 year left on your deal. If you are a dynamic salesman, you're going to get it done. Okay? Like, I'm going to actually take this in this direction right quick, Ron. Which college football coach do you think would most do well in Industry, the TV show?
Wow. Yeah, hold on a second. Give me a second for that one.
Yeah, no.
Lane Kiffin. No, Lane Kiffin would be my number one choice of character to follow around as a young person in a professional organization in a youthy London town. Just
what about the Ken Jeong character?
That's
what I'm really thinking about. The dude walking around with the brown baseball bat talking about
Pete Carroll.
Okay, wow. Wow. The dude that said we don't care about what our clients think. They work for us. Actually, isn't it the other way around? No, it's not. Either you're getting their money to make them money, or they're telling you and selling you on why they can't give you any money. Either way, you're winning or you're losing. And if you're losing, I got no problems with you. I got no time for you. Tell anybody whatever it is they need to hear. You just make sure you get them here. Yeah, when you say Pete Carroll, I'm thinking USC. Because like Ed Orgeron. I was thinking Ed Orgeron is one of the dudes, right? On the one of the kids.
Orgeron's on the desk. I don't know if he's gonna give. I don't know if I'm giving any sort of like main story time, but he's floating around. He pops in and out.
Because Reggie Bush wasn't going to SC. Do you know this? Okay, so this is on my YouTube channel. All right, so y'all can go check this out because I did a sit-down segment with Reggie Bush a couple years ago at the Big 12 Media Days when he was just coming on for Big Noon Fox. All right. I asked him about his recruitment, right? And he's like, yeah, I wasn't going to SC. I'm like, what? He's like, nah, I wasn't going to SC. Well, SC was bad, and I was good. It's like, all right, so what happened? Ed Orgeron stayed on me, stayed on top of me, got me to campus. I left committed. And I'm like, yo, Ed Orgeron is really out here turning arms. Just like that story I told you about Joe Burrow and his brother. Check your package, Dan.
Yeah, so everything that I know about Ed Orgeron, it conflicts with everything that you tell me about Ed Orgeron. Because everywhere he leaves, it is just every burnt bridge you can think of. Ed Orgeron, don't you come back. USC and Ole Miss, and I'm pretty sure LSU might not have a big enough stomach for Ed Orgeron. But he is known. That's his claim to fame. That's his Boy Scout badge. I am a recruiter, and I get people to show up. And I'm like, this dude, how? And like, you tell me, like Reggie Bush, Reggie Bush from California, right? He's from LA.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that this dude from the swamp got you to stay in California? How? What? What'd he say? Just kept on me. I think that's what I'm saying. I need to see the charisma firsthand for it to sink in.
I think it's like the bugaboo situation, right? Like we've all had these friends that just go after this one person, usually a dude after a woman that's going just a little too hard. Like straight up, good morning, beautiful with the text. Good night, beautiful with the text. You know, with the text about thinking about you. What you doing? Oh, yeah, I read that scripture this morning. It's funny. I was in that book of the Bible, too. I was listening to that Beyonce song, too. Oh, it's all of that. Have you ever seen P.S. I Love You? I think it's all of that. It's just 100% always on top of you. I want you the most. And if that doesn't work, Ed Orgeron apparently is not above calling your family members and telling your family members to put the squeeze on you. We've also seen this in the bad arranged marriages. She don't want to marry me. Maybe you need to talk to her. I'll talk to her. Don't worry about it. I'll talk to her. I'll let her know. It's what needs to happen. I feel like that's what it is, because Mac Brown and DKR kind of share this, except Mac Brown still loves recruiting. DKR was like, I don't want to be in Greece thinking about some sophomore I didn't call. I'm tired of this. I've told you this Eric Dickerson story. I love this story.
Yeah, tell me again.
So Daryl K. Royal is recruiting Eric Dickerson, and it's really down to A&M and SMU, but he feels like he got a shot. So he gets into Eric Dickerson's grandmama house, and he's doing what you do as a coach. You chat moms up until the kid get home. You work in with moms. By the time you get home, you feel pretty good. Eric Dickerson walked through the door, see Mac Brown in his chair. Mac Brown says, "How you doing, Eric? I'm Coach Daryl K. Royal." And Dickerson said, "You're in my chair." And DKR said, "It's yours," and left. And that was the end of DKR coaching football. I love that story because as soon as you decide, I don't want to recruit anymore, you've decided, I don't want to coach college football anymore. This is why, like, with Nick Saban being 68, like, still wanting to do this. You seen this bit where they have a kicker call him? Like you seen this?
No, tell me.
A radio station got his cell phone number and prank called him as a kicker who was looking to go to Alabama. Place kicker. And Nick Saban was on vacation on the beach. And he's literally just pulling stuff out of his behind about why Alabama is the place for him to be. That's how bad Nick Saban wants it.
It's really interesting to think about the idea, like, so when you talked about Ed Orgeron, the idea of recruiting and like staying on to is like an early 90s rom-com. Like, it's like, this is Notting Hill or P.S. I Love You, and as soon as it needs, it's like as soon as the spiel starts to come out, like the pianos come on in the background and the scenery swells a little bit. It's like, yeah, okay, that's a weird way to really think about it, but I mean, now it's starting to click a little bit. I mean, I always knew that, because recruiting, to me, I'm not a recruiting expert. That's why I have you around. I've always compared it to like used car salesman, but I don't think that really fits.
I think it's 100% Glenn Ross. I think it's you're Blake or you're not. You see that car? Or you see this watch? You see this watch? This watch costs more than your car. I get you these leads for you to close, dog. Like, I gave you his name. I gave you his high school. I gave you his head coach. I gave you his phone number. And you're telling me that you can't go get this kid? Sound like I need a new offense coordinator. Sound like I need a new outside linebacker coach. Sound like I need a new running backs coach. I have given you the keys to the kingdom, and you're telling me I can't do it because you ain't jiggled a lock? Man, get up out of my face. Who else want to come do this job? Like, come on. I'm here for winners. I'm here for closers. Like, that's what I think that college football is. I really do. On that note, I do want to touch on a couple of recruits. Emeka Egbuka made a trip to OU and turned some heads. All right, so Emeka Egbuka is the number 1 wide receiver in the 2021 class coming out of Washington. He's down to Ohio State, University of Washington, and Oklahoma. Had not visited Oklahoma, and it did not look like it was going to happen with the dead period being what it is. But OU was going to have its last game of the season on Saturday against Baylor at home. Last home game. And he not only came down, but he was hosted by Caleb Williams, right? Caleb Williams committed to Oklahoma and a 5-star quarterback who has been recruiting using his Sports Illustrated blog, his Twitter, his IG. Man is trying to put together a squad around himself. So not only does he host Emeka, he puts up IG live video of them throwing passes. Emeka's running routes, Caleb is throwing darts. And I can't tell you how all the people that saw that had feels. Like, all the people who follow recruitment, especially on the Ohio State side, was like, damn, did we really just lose Emeka Egbuka? Like, do we know? We don't know. But, like, before he took that trip, people were like, yo, you trying to tell me that Emeka Egbuka going to commit to a place that he hasn't actually had an opportunity to visit with coaches, see the facilities, and, get the 5-star treatment for an official visit? If that happens, I will come down there and shake Lincoln Riley's hand myself, to which I'm like, yo, man, you come down here, wear a mask, and just wave. Because after this weekend, Caleb wrote a blog post. Came out this morning. Felt like I've known Emeka my whole life. We were talking a bunch in the car. We had good chemistry. Like, all the Ohio State people are in their feelings right now. over this child. And you know what? He's cold. He's cold. Like, the comp is Juju Smith-Schuster. So Oklahoma can, if they can land an Emeka Egbuka and land a Kamara Wheaton and land a Tristan Lay, that's 3 5-stars, right? In addition to some other dudes, they could finish with a top 5 recruiting class for the first time since 2010. Meanwhile, Korey Foreman took a visit to Clemson after having decommitted in April. Felt like it was a USC lean, still kind of feels that way. Visited with Arizona State. They know how to put dudes in the NFL. It's Herm, it's Antonio Pierce, it's Marvin Lewis. It's tough to turn that down if you are a top defensive tackle. And then, or defensive end, excuse me. And then, when he went to Clemson, he was sitting with Big Dave. Big Dave is Big Dave Uyunglele. That's DJ's daddy. And Big Dave got a Twitter presence. And it's fun. Like, he is all in on his kid and Clemson football. So Big Dave put a picture up of him taking a picture with Korey Foreman. Like, you know, Foreman leaning into the picture. They ain't like touching or anything, which I thought was cool. And then we got Foreman talk about trying to get to LSU for Alabama. If you're an LSU fan, do you want him to make that trip?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really? Okay. Why? Knowing you got beat. Okay. All right. Maybe after watching that game, he might reconsider Alabama. That's my thinking.
Okay, then you got a solid choice.
I just reconsider Alabama. I don't know, man. Christian Barmore doesn't look that much better than me. LeBron Ray don't look that much better than me. I feel like I could play those positions. I feel like I could be good. I feel like I don't want to get destroyed. Because that's what Alabama's doing. They're destroying people. Like, Death, Taxes, Death Star, Empire, the Empire, Palpatine, all of that.
I feel like that's what you would always going up against, especially if you are a recruiter and a recruit in the past 5 years. You got to know that, if you go to Alabama or Iowa State or Clemson, you will crush. You can't really make an argument against that, other than the fact that there's other dudes that will be crushing there. Do you want to go against them, or do you want to play here? I mean, that's the extent of my pitch.
Clemson, that 2018 squad, they're going to be living off of that for a while, I think. You know, when you get 4 dudes on your starting defensive line all drafted the same year, and 3 of them go in the first round, like, that's tough. That's tough. Meanwhile, Egbuka is choosing between an offensive depth, a wide receiver depth chart that is absolutely just loaded at Ohio State. And Brian Hartline has been outstanding in recruitment. But until they get a first-round draft pick at wide receiver, they ain't had one since 2007. Let alone a dude to, show out and go win the Biletnikoff Award. Like, D.D. Westbrook was talked about the way that Devontae Smith is being talked about now. Hollywood Brown, C.D. Lamb, first-round draft picks back-to-back years. I'm just saying, Dennis Simmons has been outstanding, and Dennis Simmons has also been at Oklahoma for like the past 5 years, 6 years, and just cranking them out. So, things to talk about there. So now I want to get to the last headline topic. Tom Herman's Texas in absolute crisis. Absolute crisis. So,
looking tough for him.
Yeah, so I'm working on this piece about Texas football and where it's at. And I talked to Fozzie Whitaker about Texas football and where it's at. And
the Fozzie Whitaker?
Yeah, because he get to come at it from, I play for Mac Brown. I don't know what this is. That's one of the cool things about playing in the Mac Brown era is you get to be like, yeah, we were different. This is just Texas.
I was going to say there's very few times where you get to pull out. Well, I built differently. That decade. Yeah, fine. Congrats.
But for real though, because
I don't know what a bad Texas looks like.
Yeah, well, my point is essentially you can go 16 years in each direction now and not see a national championship claimed or unclaimed. Okay? The last unclaimed national championship Texas won, 1981, Fred Akers. They don't claim that one. The one they do claim, before 2005, 1970. And you have also my interpretation of college football, which is, don't tell me about anything that didn't happen before integration. Don't do it. If you're talking about how programs are built, what programs have done, I don't want to hear it unless you can tell me about what happened since integration. Because we got all these dudes talking about Dana X Bible. All these dudes talk about, hey, DKR won 4 national championships. Dog, they didn't integrate that football team like fully until 1971. They had their first black letter winner in 1970. Okay? They are the last all-white team to win a national championship in 1969. I need you to sit down somewhere. Now, if you're Ohio State, if you're Oklahoma, if you're Alabama, you can come talk to me. You can come talk to me because you were doing it across both of those eras. And I will let that slide. Right? Because Barry Switzer said, nah, watch this. Because after Bud Wilkinson already said, nah, watch this. Also, shout to Bud Wilkinson, who had a black letter winner at Oklahoma 14 years before Texas did. I'm never going to let that go. Never, 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 never. You can even talk to me in some degree about what it's been like for the new kids on the block, right? New kids being Central Florida, right? What Cincinnati has been doing here of late. Even Tulsa gets to talk to me, right? Even Tulsa gets to talk to me before some of y'all get to talk to me. But I also want to take it in this direction. Did they really expect for Tom Herman to do what Ed Orgeron has accomplished? Yes. Should they have expected that? No. Do you know why? Because Nick Saban has shown that you could actually beat about this. And then Les Miles showed you could be about this. Like, that's the thing. You could have two dudes that could be about this. Mac Brown shows up, and Texas has won 3 Big 12 championships since 1996. John Malkovich was the head coach when they joined the Big 12. Do you know who won those 3 conference championships for Texas as head coach? It's obvious. It's obvious.
Oh, Darrell Royal?
Big 12? Big 12? Yeah.
Mac Brown.
Like, all the good things that have happened to Texas since 1980 have been Mac Brown. And they ran him off. Remember that? They had a chance at Nick Saban. We don't talk about this enough. They could have got Nick Saban at the end of the Mac Brown era. And they chose to let it ride for another year with Mac.
That absolutely would have changed the trajectory of history right there.
Oh my God!
We would no longer have to entertain the Texas is back discourse.
I mean, but
what kind of world that would be?
But they are back. Like, they are who they are. If they finish 8-3, 9-3, right?
Yeah, but we wouldn't have to talk about it. That's what I'm saying.
It just be what it is.
If Nick Saban had the type of run that he has at Alabama that he had at Texas, Texas would just be, yeah. We would all still be drinking the Kool-Aid of, yeah, of course Texas is good.
Bro, so like, dude in here talking about, so you're just saying hire Mac Brown back. No. Mac Brown is closer to winning a national championship in North Carolina than he would be if he returned to Texas. Think about that. Think about that for a second. He's closer to winning a football national championship in North Carolina than he would be if he took over Texas today. Some damn 8 years after y'all fired him. My goodness.
Texas is just trying to thread such a small needle, because Urban Meyer just said, no, I'm not going to coach Texas. I'm going to continue to be a broadcaster. Like, you know it, I know it. It would kill me. But that's the type of person that they would need to get Texas back rolling, to be like fantastic, not just like occasionally have a 10-win season and then kind of hover around 8-9. They need a Nick Saban, they need an Urban Meyer, they need a Dabo Swinney. They need that person. And you can't just hire those people because at least right now they're already working and doing it.
See, and we talked about this for a couple of weeks now, but like the question that we had was, if you don't get Urban Meyer, and you won't, and you didn't, who do you go get? And the answer is apparently nobody, because there's 3 years left on Tom Herman's deal. And I feel that you're going to get further away if you blow it up. But it's also some of the things that he has done have just embarrassed some people, right? The whole Zach Smith situation, not saying that like he did anything wrong. I am saying he's involved because Zach Smith involved him, right? You have the flipping the cameras off on signing day. Like, was he doing it at someone in particular? Nah, but he got caught on camera or forgot that the cameras were there and flipped off the cameras on signing day. You got him doing the chicken wing to mock Drew Lock in his first year at Texas in the Texas Bowl, where the MVP was his punter, a dude that he only called punter, saying punters don't get names. They just get punter. He's like, I was joking, but no, it's something you said, dog. It's something you said. It's a thing that just bothers us in this modern time. It's like Mike Gundy referring to his players by their numbers, being impersonal. 2 is really good. Like 2 is Tylan Wallace. You can say Tylan Wallace. Matter of fact, we would prefer you say Tylan is really good because he is. Because he is. 30's really good too. Chuba Hubbard's really good.
Right, and I'm not going to say that the way that he treats people is fine, but or that I would excuse it, but the number one part of your culture that you need to be as a college football coach, particularly Texas, is winning. If he's working on a 95% win percentage at Texas right now, he's like, he has some rough edges, but look at it, he has results.
Right.
That's the only thing that matters to Texas. Like, I don't care about him pumping out. I don't particularly care if I'm a Texas fan about him pumping out NFL talent. I don't particularly care about his graduation rates. I don't particularly care about the type of character that he puts in his community or on the team. It needs to be about wins. Now, if you're at a school that's already getting wins, you absolutely need to care about that. But Texas doesn't. Like, they have no. I don't have time for you to install a culture.
Not just I don't have time for you to install a culture. We make too much money for the culture not to be money. Okay? Like, that's the other thing. What?
Wait, wins are money. That's it.
What? I'm just...
Yeah, I'm with you.
So the other way I go at this is with their last 2 hires, they have bullied people with money. They were going to try to bully Urban Meyer with money. It didn't work. Because I look around and, we could throw anything against the wall. People have done it in the chat. Shout out to Doc Winston O'Boogie talking about Texas putting out feelers to Bud Kilmer. That makes me fun. That made me laugh, if nobody else. So I appreciate that.
I can't wait for Texas to absolutely invent, patent, and throw out to the world a time machine so they can just start. Yeah, so it looks like we're talking to Barry Switzer from '88. It's looking like it's going to be a good time down here. It's like, oh yeah, we found Bud Wilkinson. He's about to turn the whole team around. Like,
Newt Rockne has been announced as the University of Texas football coach. No. Hey, John Heisman, he of Yale, has agreed to be the 2021 head coach of the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, we decided to throw
Walter Camp,
future money at Jim Tressel to come down to Texas.
All right, so here's this. What if we did this in reverse, right? Like, Drew Brees signed a 2-year contract worth $50 million to be a broadcaster at NBC Sports when his football career ends. Looks like it's ended, right? But he did that while he's still playing football. Bill Belichick has signed a 2-year contract to become the head coach of University of Texas football when he retires. It's the head coach, general manager for the Patriots. What if we did that? Also, let me add this. Colt McCoy is making his way through football. And Major Applewhite would love to get a call. He's analyst over at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But like, dude in here talking about Billy Napier. All right, man. All right, man. Since we throwing stuff at the wall, how about Jamie Chadwell, who is undefeated, who's probably going to win the Sun Belt? By the way, Jamie Chadwell was on ESPN Radio with me and Jeff Dickerson doing game night. Got to talk to him for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That man is from South Carolina, even if he's not from South Carolina, and in the best way possible. I so enjoyed hearing that man talk. It was great. He was so excited for his kids. Also, the joke is now that Coastal Carolina beat Zach Wilson, and Coastal Carolina beat Zach Wilson. And if you didn't watch the game, you have no idea what I'm talking about. None. And that's just fine. That's how it is. So, knowing that Tom Herman's probably going to keep his job, what do you do now? Because you got to start a different quarterback. And you brought in Chris Ash to try to give you a defense, which they kind of sort of have. It's not as bad as it was last year, but that's not really that great a look. And Mike Yurcich is apparently offensive coordinator, but they're still running power spread. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Also, Fozzie dropped this on me. Shout out to him. Texas is like 20-0 when they have rushed for over 200 yards in a game. And you got Secretariat back there in Bijan Robinson. Like, swear to you, the second coming of Ricky Williams.
Ooh.
No, he's 9 rushes, 172 yards, 3 tutties. That's regular for him in high school because he was the offense in high school. Like, coaches would say, in games where he rushed for 385, 423 on like 17 carries or whatever, be like, no, we had him. We filled. He's just stronger and faster. Like, it was, quite honestly, no, we built the defense to stop him. And he said, I will not be stopped. That's who you got running the ball for you. And that you waited this long to feature him when I was gassing him up all preseason. And I was gassing him up all last year. And I got Texas fans talking about it's a fireable offense that he wasn't featured earlier in the year. I told y'all that. I said he is the only person in this league who terrifies me. And he's a true freshman. You have him. And then 9 carries, 172 yards against Kansas State. A defense I thought was good. Like, if I got to talk you into handing the ball to your best player, we got a head coaching problem.
No, that's a problem. I was about to say, like, there, as much as I'd love to give Tom Herman like a lot of slack, can't. And this, once again, because I feel like that all I do is say Texas. But we're talking about an absolutely okay ball club. Texas is a fine football program. The problem is that they're not elite and great. That's a strange bit of like headspace to talk about a club. It's like, why isn't Texas great? I'm like, well, because he's not. Because they make coaching decisions. Like the culture's bad and the expectations are too high. Yeah, it's a crime that this kid wasn't playing earlier.
And you also have all this talent around them. Like, their ceiling for 4 years has been Sam Ehlinger. They've been exactly as good as he's been.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, what is the peak for Texas during the Tom Herman era? Sugar Bowl win? Or beating a college football playoff team and Big 12 champion OU in the Red River rivalry? That's it. It's either that or you're going to try to hold up that 7-point loss to LSU last year. And I hate holding up losses for anything. That was a good loss. What?
Hey, I'll give it to you. It was good. It was a good, fun game. You can't use that as any sort of metric for where your program is.
I can't wait for BYU to say we only lost by 5 to Coastal Carolina.
To future national championship Chanticleers.
Hey, look, as I'm saying, like if BYU's really about it, they're gonna put up the national runner-up on their chest. That's what they're gonna do. National runners-up. We lost to the national champions. I don't want it that bad. I do want a Coastal Carolina national championship shirt, though. I want
Absolutely.
one. Oh, yeah.
I need it.
Yeah. Conway Roasters, damn it.
That's the story.
I had dudes in here, like, in the lead up, because, like, somebody asked me in the comments, RJ, could you please do a a preview of BYU Coastal Carolina. And I'm like, fine, whatever. And I go at it. I get Chanticleer fans in the chat and in the comments talking about it's shots. It's a AU sound. First of all, the word is Chanticleer, and it is from Chaucer. Okay? It is the King's English.
Oh, Lord.
Second of all, just because it made its way to the South and y'all won y'all little baseball national championship, don't mean you get to start come in here correcting my diction, because I don't have any drawl in my Chanticleers. Okay? You lucky that I don't just come out here and call them the fighting rockadoodles, because that's what I want to do.
RJ is the type of dude to be looking at Shakespeare in the park in Starkville and being like, can't believe it. They butchering him.
Look,
he already did. I don't know why you got to murder him.
But dude, it's Chanticleer. Chanticleer. There's no ah in there. Shots. Shots up. No, man.
That
look,
feels good.
Oh my God. Plus, you were some Roosters just down the road for some Gamecocks. Have we thought about that? Like, I'm sure somebody thought about that.
I was about to say, this is one of those where the fiction gets kicked back, or like the reality gets kicked back, because you wrote that into a screenplay. No, I can't have that.
Are you sure? Perfect. South Carolina Gamecocks and Coastal Carolina Chanticleers? Are you sure? I mean, I left some Tigers in here. We got Clemson. We got Tigers in Clemson. No? You don't like that? Oh, that reminds me. What's South Carolina State's mascot? Man, I should know this.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'm going to get research on this right quick. Because, like, the last time I was talking about South Carolina State was actually earlier this year. Bulldogs, that's who they are. But I was talking about Darius Leonard. Because right, where did Darius Leonard go to school? Yeah. Where did Darius Leonard go to school? Where did Tariq Cohen go to school? Yeah, where did Tariq Cohen go to school?
Yeah, these are all real good questions.
Y'all gonna tell me all about these dudes that came out of West Georgia and Georgia State. Can't tell me where some of these dudes come from. All right, whatever. Where else did I want to go with this? Because we got like a little bit of time left. All right, let me check the chat and see what y'all are talking about, because I know y'all having conversation among yourselves.
So while you're looking, I wanted to point out
Please.
Don't talk to me about sports before integration.
Oh.
So this is just a small thing, just one thing.
Please.
Is that if that's the case, then we gotta talk about the Yankees 27 championships actually just being 17.
I mean,
it's still pretty good, but
what do you call an integration? Are you calling 47 integration?
I'm putting it at 47.
Okay. I mean, that's where a lot of people put it. But
that's where I'm putting it.
I prefer to think of it as the last time that the Negro Leagues decided to play a baseball season. Also,
I didn't put that research in.
Just, you know me, I love baseball, right? I'm the college football guy, but I love baseball. And like, here's a research project for anybody that wants to do it, because I did it and it's so much fun. Check out the Don Newcomb, Willie Mays All-Stars. It is perhaps the finest collection of talent ever. It's Don Newcomb. It's Willie Mays. I don't want to tell y'all who's on this team. I just remember looking at this team going, oh, so this is what the Monstars would look like. Like, you go down the list, Hall of Famer. Like, they are quite literally just destroying people, to make a little money. And they're selling out games in such a way that they're holding games up by like 2 hours so that they can get all the people in the stands in like Longview, Texas. Let me see. Bernard Schurman asks, how would Luke Fickell do at Texas putting defense in the Big 12? You act like we ain't been playing defense this year. Did you see Oklahoma the last like 6 games? They haven't allowed more than 28 points to be scored since the Texas game, and that's 4 overtimes. They're absolutely destroying people. They held Oklahoma State to 13. They held Baylor to 14. They held Kansas to 9, right? Like, I resent that because that's no longer true. Also, look at what Iowa State did to West Virginia. West Virginia scored 6 points. All right? But to answer your question, Luke Fickell is a northeastern dude. I don't see him wanting to come this far south because the recruiting region just changes. That dude coached at Ohio State, was a head coach at Ohio State, has a defensive coordinator that went to Ohio State. Like, that's who they are. They are Ohio. And since he's not going to take the Michigan job, you're just going to stand there and wait for PJ Fleck to flame out, I guess. Right? You know, or wait for Pat Narduzzi to get up out of Pittsburgh. You know, like there's not a whole bunch of places that for him to go. Like his name doesn't even pop up in the South Carolina search because it's understood. You know, we got all these dudes from the South that are popping up. Like Shane Beamer ends up in South Carolina because he had more or less begun his coaching career there. Like after Va Tech, I think it's the first stop that he made, and he coached for Spurrier for years. But loved down there, telling stories about watching his kids go hunt Easter eggs on the field. You know, and he's talking about my kids were so young and now they're like 12. He views that place as home, and they view him as coming home. That's not what Luke Fickell would be doing in Texas or Mississippi or Louisiana or Florida for that matter. I just don't see it, dog. Like Dan Mullen is a Southeastern Conference coach in the way that Kirby Smart is a Southeastern Conference coach. So when y'all tell me stuff like Luke Fickell to Texas, I don't think y'all are actually paying attention. It's like saying, what if Kirby Smart coached Michigan? What? No. Like the only dude that can make that leap is James Franklin. That's because James Franklin can coach East Coast, West Coast, South, wherever. Like we've been talking about James Franklin, not just at Penn State, but in Vandy, but as a dude that could go at USC and Texas. Because James Franklin cuts all the ways America does. All the ways. And there's only a handful of coaches that can pull that off. And guess what? Those dudes have jobs and they don't want to go anywhere else. It should tell you everything that Nick Saban is one of the only dudes in the modern era to go from the north to the south and make it work. You know, think about it in these terms. Mac Brown has 2 places that he really loved to coach. Okay? They are this southeastern region and this place that thinks it's the southeast. North Carolina and/or Oklahoma, Texas. And you can throw Iowa State in there if you want to, but he wasn't there for very long. Matter of fact, Tom Herman called Iowa State Siberia. Matter of fact, I tell this story right quick. Get your reaction to the story. Tom Herman takes over the Texas job in 2017. Goes to talk to University of Houston business students in 2017. And he was talking about how he didn't make more than $40,000 in a year until he turned 32. Like it was some sort of feat. No, man, I didn't make that kind of money either. But I'm not making $5 million either. All right. And I'm 33. That's his way of getting into it ain't about money, and you're going to have to work your way up. And the way he decided to describe working his way up was talking about coaching at Iowa State and how he came up. I coached at FCS, I coached at Rice, and I coached at Iowa State. He coached at Texas State, Sam Houston State, Rice, and Iowa State. So it ain't like, you know, my man was living in some areas that are somewhere out in the Hinters. He can coach in Montana. He can coach in Bozeman. It's not what he did. Let's talk about Ames, Iowa, though. He said, anybody been to Ames? Ames, Iowa? Yeah, I did a 3-year sentence in Ames. Siberia. Yeah. And then caught an L to Siberia in back-to-back years. And I really want somebody to check me on the math on this one, but I do believe this is the first time in Texas school history that the University of Texas football team has lost to Iowa State and Texas Christian in back-to-back years. They are 0-4 against Iowa State and Texas Christian in 2019 and 2020.
That's a big, congratulations, Iowa State, for lifting up the positioning of your program.
Dude points out Urban Meyer also went north to south. Yeah, Bowling Green State.
I was about to say.
Yeah, my bad. Mike, you good. But again, handful of dudes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And he also spent time in the mountains. Like
Utah, right. Yeah. Bowling Green State. He made Bowling Green State like a name. Who does that? I didn't care about the Falcons. I haven't cared about the Falcons since. Like, it was Bowling Green State when he coached there.
Yeah, I could name what Jacob Harris. That's about the beginning and end of my Bowling Green knowledge.
Man, and I think about them. I don't think about them. Like, I think about other teams in Ohio. I think about Toledo. I think about Cincy, of course. I think about Miami of Ohio. Yeah, I don't think about Bowling Green at all, ever. I even think about Akron because they suck.
A lot of those programs get a lot of have had a lot of play. I'm not saying necessarily football, but those schools in that state have done a lot of good things. Like Ohio, stop me if this is hot take. I think Ohio might be a hotbed of talent. I think they might be talent rich. Wow.
Some have said. Some have said. All right. I appreciate y'all for coming through. Ron, thanks so much for doing this with me, man. It's more fun when you're talking.
Wow. Oh, you're so sweet.
Okay. Yeah, subscribe to the RJ Young Show podcast where you can listen to this ad-free because, apparently I'm still looking for people that want to do business. And, like how we could do the fake ad reads again, might actually do those like when we get the ads back, probably do the fake ad reads just to keep everybody on their toes because that was fun. Check out my piece on foxsports.com about Ohio State and its culture and ahead of the Michigan game. And we'll see y'all in a couple hours. Deuces.